Welcome back to another episode of Toon Talk TV, presented by We Are the Television. This is the show where we talk everything cartoons and animation. If you're new to the channel, be sure and like, follow, subscribe. Today, we're joined by probably our vault, our hub of comic book knowledge, the one and the only Charlie Broadbent. Charlie, first time on the pod.
Yeah.
You know, what's going through your mind right now?
Oh, I'm excited. I've never been on a podcast before. I love y'all, so I'm excited to have some good conversation, chat about an upcoming event that we all get to attend together. I'll leave that for when we actually bring it up. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I feel like me and Al, we've known Charlie since we've been like little kids. I don't know when you met Charlie, Nick, but I feel like every time me and Charlie sit down and talk with each other, it's always about comics or what he's collecting or something. So I feel like this is the perfect episode to get him on and talk some shit.
Dude,
Well,
it is.
Because we didn't kind of mention, we are going to actually be talking about comics this episode rather than cartoons because we're all going to C2E2 and we're excited as hell for that. But comics, I think, are equally cartoons because you got to start somewhere. You got to start with a storyboard, and a comic is like the best version of that. So, I mean,
I 1000% agree.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, comics, like you said, they're pretty much a storyboard in themselves, both the way you read it and the way it looks, visually. And a lot of comics, either start off as a cartoon or vice versa. It starts off as a comic and it goes into a cartoon or a show. So I believe they are entangled with each other.
Yeah,
Totally.
So for this episode, or go ahead, Al.
I was going to say, so do you guys find, what's the difference between a storyboard and a comic? Brett, I want you to answer that.
Yeah. Because
they are totally different things, but they basically are the same thing. So what is the differences?
Well, a storyboard is supposed to be rough. I feel like I'm going to talk about a comic later where it is pretty much a storyboard. It's left rough, but most of the comics that people like dive into today, they want nice line work. They want color. That's the difference between a comic is a final product. A storyboard isn't. But at the end of the day, when you're creating a comic or a storyboard, you're using the same process. You're essentially directing a story. You're picking the where you want the audience to view this character. What do you want the audience to feel in this moment? Where do you want these people? What emotion are you trying to convey? It's the same thing. It's just I feel like a storyboard isn't a final product when a comic is.
Now, most storyboards, Brett, do they tend to be in just black and white and just like pencil drawn shapes, no faces type thing?
It can be black and white. I've actually seen most of the storyboards I've seen, there's a few colors just to differentiate between there's actually like values too. Like background might be a darker value than the foreground to show that there's like multiple like dimension to the actual photo, but besides, I don't think there's like a set way of doing it. I think it just
because I know at the end of I'm pretty sure most of us, Charlie. I don't know if you watched The Mandalorian or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the end of those,
I'm all up to speed on it. Yep.
Yeah, at the end of those episodes, that's all like storyboard work that they show you at the very end.
I love
which
that.
Seems
I love
like
they
a
do
finished
that.
product, right?
Well, those. I mean, they show like finalized paintings. Like those, I feel like are more than the storyboard. Like I feel like that's a character design. Like like someone who made the storyboard and then they're like, all right, what is this dragon or what is this armor going to look like? And then someone paints it out, designs the character, and then they're like, okay, how are we going to actually build this? And then they go into the actual film.
Also, because
I think it could really go either way. I've seen storyboards that are very loose, like Brett, what you said, kind of just black and white pencil sketch. And I have seen some that include color a little bit more further down the line as far as being complete, but still a very rough sketch. So
Totally.
I think what goes into it is like how much of a budget you have for it. If you can spend a ton on making those characters and shots that much better, then yeah, put some color into it. Develop those characters a little bit more, and that a better start in a storyboard is just going to equal a better end in the final shot. So,
dude, I love a finished storyboard. Love it. I love it down to where I can just package that up and make a little coin on the side just from selling that stuff.
Turn it into a
Is that
comic.
what you do? Dude, is that what you do?
Dude, I'm about to package my Attack on Titan little comic that I made starring Al
Dude,
into
you'll
something.
get
Hopefully a
nothing,
book.
dude.
But no, as Al mentioned on this episode, we're going to be talking some of our favorite comics and kind of, you know, how we see them relating to storyboards and relating to a finished product. We all brought different ones to the table, which I'm excited to talk all about. Which one of you guys wants to go first?
Well, let's. I don't want to put Charlie on the spot unless he wants to. I feel like this is the first time he's here, so maybe Charlie, you want to go first, or do you want to let us go first?
Nah, I'll let you guys handle it. I have a couple of here. Mine are going to be a little bit more current because I do still go to the comic book shop for the most part every single Wednesday. I'm always picking up new comics, and the two that I'm currently reading right now, there's good reason why I picked these up. So I'll go into that after you guys start us off here.
Charlie, there's a great little comic store called Amazing Fantasy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. We're trying to get them to sponsor this pod.
Yeah, that's where I go. Actually, out here in
Nice.
Tinley Park, where I live, there's an Amazing Fantasies out here, but it's not the cool one. The cool one's in Frankfurt that you guys are probably all familiar with, and I'll stop by that one every once in a while. But I just have the convenience of the Amazing Fantasies. That's right out here in Tinley. So,
Well, then, Al, you go first.
Let me
Tell us about the comic you brought.
Okay.
I actually want to kick this off. That was a good segue. What makes you guys choose a comic aside from a recommendation? So you're walking into a comic book store and you decide you're by yourself and you decide to pick up a brand new comic. What made you choose that?
I'll start with this one. So I was actually at what's the comic book store that you guys used to live below the owners? What is that one here?
Challengers.
Challengers. So I went to Challengers not too long ago, and right when I walked in, they usually have that shelf of like brand new, or maybe it's like an unknown artist or something like that. And instantly, this was a graphic novel, and I can't remember the name. It's on my bookshelf. I don't want to get up and grab it right now. But what drew me to it was the little character description underneath, and the first word was crypto. And it kind of put something in my mind because we're kind of creating our own little project revolving around crypto. But I was like, that's a word that I gravitate towards. So instantly I picked it up, skimmed through, read the back, read the recommendation, and I was like, wow, this is about, fucking people killing each other over crypto. Boom, put it in the bag. Off
Keywords. I love it.
So for me, it was a keyword.
Dude,
Brett, what about
it's
you?
a comic book. For me, it's the cover. It's the illustration,
Yeah.
dude. It's got to
Yeah,
be cool
yeah.
art. It's the fucking.
Yep.
It's the same reason I buy a fucking new can of beer. It's like, give me
the
some
thumbnail,
cool
dude.
artwork on
For
there,
real.
and I'll fucking buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie, what about you? Is it art too, or?
yeah, I mean, art is a big thing. The illustrator. The first thing I look at when I'm looking at a comic, it'll be the writer, right? Usually the names are right on the front cover, if not right, on the second cover. But the writers is really what draw my attention. I prefer a good writer over a good illustrator for sure.
Nice,
Cool.
nice.
I'm with you. So, a big one for me, which is different from all of these, is collectability. Because I have, when I start something, I want to finish it. So if I see a comic that I can't get all the issues of, I already start to kind of feel like, do I even want to start? And I know that's a weird way to think about it, but that's just me. That's just
so
me.
weird. You have
I
OCD
know,
or
dude.
something.
So
dude.
my
That's
God.
Kind of,
that's
it's
weird as
definitely
fuck,
OCD.
dude.
It's definitely, dude. Like there could be a fantastic comic, but if there is not issues 2, 4, and 6, I'm already like, I'm gonna wait a second.
Wow. All right. That's interesting.
I can understand that. I can relate to that a little bit because when I'm buying like a comic run, especially something that has multiple issues out already, I always want just the main covers. I don't really care for variant covers or anything like that. And if it's a 5-issue run and I can only get 3 of the issues in an original cover and everything else is a variant, I more than likely won't pick it up. And that's
why even start? Why even start? Right.
Yeah.
So that goes into my comic pick. When I first started collecting comics, I freaking love Batman. I love the idea of Batman as a superhero because he's your average guy that can compete with Superman, the ultimate superhero, just totally overpowered, but he can still beat him. Now, I knew from the start that there was no way I was collecting all the Batman comics. They started making those well before I was born. So my next pick there was Nightwing because you got to see, which is Dick Grayson, the first Robin. You can, in my lifetime, I could collect, if I wanted to, I can collect every single Nightwing comic, at least the first series, basically. And I did, and I was pretty pumped by that. So in 2009 to like 2011, Batman dies. Big spoiler alert. We're just gonna go into all this shit. So if you don't know,
the story's been out for a while now. It's not a
exactly.
Spoiler.
So I'm just gonna say like whatever. So Batman dies, and who picks up the Batman? Who becomes Batman for a while? Dick Grayson. So that comic, there's a 26 series comic called Batman and Robin, where Dick Grayson is Batman, and Batman's Bruce Wayne's son, Damian Wayne, takes the place of the new Robin. That's the comic that I'm going to bring. It's the 2009 Batman and Robin, written by Grant Morrison, who is a fantastic writer. I feel like they put him on pretty much a lot of the serious DC stories, just because they know he's going to come up with something good. So what kind of brought me to this one and what made it relevant right now for me is a video that Charlie sent me, actually, where James Gunn is going to be he's the head of the new DCU coming up. They're kind of what he's basically is the producer or the director of all these films coming up. Charlie, what's the case
I guess
with that?
he's like everybody knows Kevin Feige over at Marvel, so James Gunn is going to be like the Kevin Feige of the DC universe as far as the movies and TV shows go.
And that's
Hot
awesome.
Take, it's
smart.
Be terrible.
What?
Hot
really?
take?
Hot take, terrible, dude.
I'm hyped on it, man. I'm hyped
pumped.
on it.
I'm pumped.
Yeah.
So before I keep going, wait, Nick, why do you say that? I want to hear why you think that.
Well, Ben Affleck was already the perfect Batman, and when he came in, he fired Ben Affleck. So
why? Why the fuck
dude.
was Ben Affleck the perfect Batman?
Listen,
you're joking, right? I hope
I'm actually blaming the fall of the DCEU on Joss Whedon. If he would have just stuck to Zack Snyder's plan for the original Justice League, I think things would have been different. But
Dude,
the fact that he came in,
sucking Zack Snyder's dick with this new Zack Snyder release, and I thought it was just too long. To be honest, way too long.
Everyone came in and they were like, "Oh my god, the Justice League is too dark and too fucking crazy." And then they go and make one of the darkest Batman movies with Robert Pattinson, and no one shit on that. And I was like, "You can't have it both ways."
Isn't it like the whole tone of the DC universe just to be as dark and gritty as possible?
Well, I think it was more grounded and gritty as possible. But then you got movies like Shazam and Wonder Woman that weren't dark and gritty at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's perfect that you brought that up, because that's the truth. I feel like DC has been dark and gritty, and the Christopher Nolan Batman is put on the highest pedestal of like Batman movies, and it's pretty much, at least in
the
my mind.
best.
I don't know, but I feel like James Gunn is totally going to flip that on its head. He's more of like at least with his Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, it's all been very lighthearted. It's all been like trying to be funny. Guardians of the Galaxy, it focuses more on being funny than serious. So he brought up that he was going to be using this series as inspiration for the first Batman that he brings into the DCEU. And I feel like it's such a perfect idea because in this Batman, it flips the roles. It's Dick Grayson is more of like the lighthearted, fun one in the group, when Robin used to be the one cracking the jokes and like is the comic relief. Even like to go back as far, well, before I even bring that. So in this one, Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's son, is a little fucker. He's constantly fighting with Dick Grayson. You could tell he's got like this undertone of like he wants to kill. He's the son of Talia al Ghul and was raised by assassins. So he just has it in his blood to be evil, I guess. Yeah. So the kind of relationship between Batman and Robin in this series I think it's got so much potential for like comedic relief between the two, but in the comic itself, it's colorful and Dick Grayson's Batman is more focused on the fact that he was brought up in the circus. It's like there's color, there's weirder villains that he's fighting that Grant Morrison kind of just made specifically for this, like this Professor Pig. Yeah. They're just weird. I almost feel like James Gunn picked this Batman specifically for that lightheartedness and all the color that they're going to be. I mean, they even go as far to draw the sound effects in the comic. Like, I feel like as far like back in the Adam West Batmans, I feel like he's going to try to almost bring some of that back to where it's less of the serious Batman, more of just the fun.
So Al, are you so with this comic, in relation to kind of storyboards and how it translates to film and animation, are you seeing something that you're basically reading something that you can picture on screen better than something like, say, if the Christopher Nolan one was a comic book? Like, you can see you're more excited for this new Brave and the Bold Nightwing-esque comic and that depiction on screen, especially with James Gunn at the helm.
I am, because I feel like I'm so sick of people trying to almost trying to beat the Christopher Nolan Batman, and I like don't beat it. Change it to do something completely your own. I think that's why each one of these Batmans, the best ones have been the ones where the director decided to make something of their own. They weren't trying to copy someone else. They made something of their own, and that shines through.
Well, I would argue that it was just done with the the latest Batman. What's
you know his name, dude? Don't you know his name?
Twilight.
The vampire. That was serious as fuck. Are you kidding me?
He's been in tons of movies.
No, I'm saying
Twilight.
so I'm saying they did something different from the Nolan version,
right?
And it's completely
more of the
different.
Detective Batman, yeah.
Yeah. I think that the reason I don't like Christopher Nolan's Batman the most because it's his depiction of a good Batman. I like it the most because it's a good movie. It's genuinely a good movie. Like,
agreed.
So, and I that's a little rougher to say with Twilight, but I mean, other people think differently. Other people really like that movie. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I do like Robert Pattinson. I'm fucking with you. I do like him a little. I do, but I just think Nolan's those films were just done better.
So for me, I'll go back a little bit and say that I am excited to see what James Gunn does with this Nightwing and this Brave and the Bold interpretation, because I do agree with you, Al, that it's way different. Grant Morrison it's so different than any other Batman comic run, and I'm excited to see if he pulls exactly from that and we see that on screen.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be that. I really don't. Continue your statement,
this is what
but
I wanted to get into.
Yeah. But so for me, I hope it is something colorful like a Suicide Squad or a Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's Batman and Robin. I, on the other hand, in terms of doing something different, when I look at Christian Bale's, Christopher Nolan's Batman and Robert Pattinson's Batman, they're the exact same to me, because they're basically a year zero Batman, a Batman that just started becoming Batman. Whereas the Zack Snyder version with Ben Affleck, he had already been doing it for like 30 years. Like he had already, we never got to see that story play out, but he was already Batman he was a grizzled, hated the world for having to be Batman in the first place. And I thought that was a new, fresh, interesting take. That was clearly the Dark Knight Returns storyline that we just never got to see play out on the screen. So
that is an interesting take. I do like when they do that, where they did that with Spider-Man too, with the Tom Holland version, where every other Spider-Man he gets bit and now he's changing and he doesn't know what's happening. Well, Tom Holland, you don't even see any of that shit. He's just in high school. He's just
been Spider-Man.
Yeah. That is refreshing.
You can only do so many origin stories before it just gets washed out.
Right.
You know? But I want to pick your guys' brain on one thing real quick, because I hear information coming in from all different sources. So with this new Batman that's going to be coming out, I agree. I'm excited for it to be something different. It is a very different Batman story from any other ones that I've read. So when they say they're going to pull inspiration from this comic, do you guys think, and this is just a guess, I just want everybody's honest opinion, do you think they're going to do the Dick Grayson as Batman? Or do you think they're going to just bring in... Because, Al, I know you watched the video, and the guy in the video that I sent you talked about this a little bit, but they were talking about possibly bringing back a Batman that we've already seen, and it's not going to be Dick Grayson. Or it's going to be, it's going to be a Batman we've seen before, and then... that new younger Robin that's Bruce Wayne's son and Talia al Ghul's son as well. What do you guys think?
Do you guys want to take this before I take it? Because I have a lot to say on that. All right.
I'll go first. I am super upset that we've never got a true interpretation and a true visualization of Dick Grayson as Robin. Him being Robin are some of my best comic reads, and in the animated adventures, when he first meets Dick Grayson, some of the best episodes are when Dick Grayson is a young Robin. So I'm upset that we're skipping straight to the Damian Wayne aspect of it. But I can see why he would want to do that, because it's fresh, it's new, it's something completely different. But I personally am upset that we're never going to get to see that version of Dick. Maybe in flashbacks, maybe you'll see something like that. But I'm upset that we're not going to see the Dick Grayson version of Robin.
I agree, but I feel like there's good reason. Brett, what about you?
Honestly, I think you should take it, because unfortunately, I'm a Marvel dude. I've never really read any of the DC Batman stories.
That's fair.
As much as I know about Batman is all in the movies. So
that kind of brings up a good point. And Nick said it too. So we seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt kind of hint
version of Robin.
Wasn't that like turning into Nightwing type thing?
Yeah.
Or no?
So I feel like that was their way of hinting at the idea that he was there, but it's weird to throw some guy in red, green, in primary colors, in tights into a story like that. It makes no fucking sense. It just throws everyone off. So I feel like Charlie, you're right. I don't think that they're going to make Dick Grayson Batman because that would just be weird as hell for everyone. Everyone's like, what? Bruce Wayne is Batman. What the fuck? I do think that they are going to make his son, Damian Wayne, Robin, because, I mean, who better to bring along as Robin than his own son?
Yeah.
And I also think, so later in the so this is kind of where I saw it going when they said that they were going to bring back an older Batman. So Grant Morrison only writes half of that run. He stops writing at like number 17 or 16 maybe. And at that point, Batman comes back. Big spoiler alert. So Bruce Wayne comes back.
I mean, you're right. It was like this comic that you're talking about, it was like a 3-arc run. It was, what happened to Bruce Wayne, then the comic arc you're talking about, and then there was the after of what you're about to get into. So.
Yes.
So the big thing that happens at that point is Bruce Wayne basically goes public with saying that I fund Batman. And I'm going to put all my money into this superhero initiative where we have multiple Batmans. So I have a feeling that they were almost going to kind of multiverse it and bring back some other old Batmans into the picture and be like, well, this was always the case. We always had this old Batman. And that's just the route that people are going these days. The multiverse bullshit.
Why is that the new
multiverse
thing?
Everything. Yep.
Yeah,
why not?
Fuck,
dude? It's multiple people,
make everything
multiple
canon.
Movies, multiple monies, dude. Now instead of having one Batman movie, we can have 6 Batman movies. Everyone's gonna see all 6. That's 6 paychecks, baby.
Hell yeah! I mean, it's
all
marketing
right, so
genius. It really is.
The last question I have on this is for you guys. If they do bring back an old Batman, who do you want him to be?
Like, you mean old as in like an older version of Batman, not like year 0 Batman, but a Batman that's like in his 40s.
I took that as actor,
basically.
Yeah, I took that as
that's what
actor.
I'm saying, actor. If they're going to bring back a previous Batman that we've seen in the movies before, which again there is talks of that being a possibility out there, who would you want it to be?
Well, we only have 3 to pick from.
Yeah.
I'd
like to see Arnold Schwarzenegger and Clooney going back at it again in 2023. Dude.
Well, actually, now that I think about that, it can't be Val Kilmer because he's got health issues.
Yeah.
It can't be
he
Michael
pretty
Keaton.
much can't speak.
Well, no. It can be Keaton. Aren't they bringing him back in the flesh?
It's not going to be. Well, they are, but they've done extensive reshoots where that's not going to be the case anymore. So it can't be Keaton.
I would have loved to see Michael Keaton.
It's not going to be Ben Affleck because Ben Affleck already came out and said he's not doing anything for James Gunn's version. It's not going to be Robert Pattinson because that's basically canon as elsewhere. So your only choices are George Clooney, and Christian Bale are the only 2.
Mm-hmm. And it
I
makes
would love
sense
to
that
see
it would
George
be
Clooney.
Yeah, I would love to see Clooney too. I feel like it's fresh.
I would love to see Clooney, but
it
kind of makes sense that it would be Christian Bale because Talia was in those movies. So if they're going to kind of do a run with the young Damian Wayne, you already have Talia and you have Christian Bale. So again,
I'd fucking watch
they do that.
Christian Bale is a good fucking Batman.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't seen anything set in stone, but like I said, sources are going crazy whether they're going to actually do the true Batman and Robin story, or if they're going to do this whole bringing an old Batman back. So
I hope it's that, and then we can just play that scene of American Psycho where Christian Bale's like banging the chicks on the bed,
looking in the mirrors.
He's actually banging Talia al Ghul. Like that's.
You're really.
So what about you guys?
The Christian Bale verse.
Yeah.
What do you guys been reading? Or what are your favorites?
So I'll go next. Al, great bring to the table. If you haven't checked out that run of Nightwing Do it.
It's not
great.
Nightwing.
It's not,
Batman and Robin.
Or Batman and Robin, but with Dick Grayson.
Yes.
The first
Wait,
Robin.
wait, before you continue, Nick, I'm sorry to cut you off. How long do we have you for, Charlie? Because I have a feeling this is going to be a long ass podcast.
I'm good for the rest of the day.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Yeah,
Tight.
I'm free.
All right,
Let's go.
So what I'm bringing to the table is Hellboy. And I'm bringing it to the table for a few reasons. One, for me, Hellboy, I have always been interested in kind of these like gothic tales and supernatural elements. So in the DC verse, I always liked Constantine and Deadman, and I was really big into kind of like Watchmen and how you had like Dr. Manhattan and Rorschach and all these type of things. And for me, Hellboy kind of brings all that together. Whereas he himself is a demon and he fights vampires and he fights fucking witches and there's a lot of death and a lot of mystic elements to it. But one story in particular that I'm bringing to the table today is called Hellboy the Crooked Man. The reason I settled on that one is because we have the Hellboy films with Guillermo del Toro, and then we had the Hellboy reboot with David Harbour. Now we're getting a third reboot with Jack Kesy, who you know best from Deadpool 2 as Black Tom, is who he plays in Hellboy 2. But the story that they're rebooting that with is The Crooked Man, which, if you guys aren't familiar, The Crooked Man... Let me get this pulled up right here. Actually, close the page. The artwork was done by Richard Corbin, story by, of course, Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, but it's a gothic tale set in 1958. So you get like a younger Hellboy, much like these Batmans that we just talked about. You get a younger Hellboy where he's a bit more naive, a bit more reckless. He doesn't have that grizzled, like I've been around the block type aspect. And it's set in the Appalachian Mountains. And it's a central story about Hellboy running into a guy, and then they have to go defeat what's called the Crooked Man. And for me, the translation to storyboard and how this kind of relates to the whole thing is that it gives this much like you said, Brett, like this unfinished look almost on some of the pages that I think that are going to translate very well to screen. Hellboy was always one of those. When I try to doodle, not very good at drawing eyes or any of those shapes. But with Hellboy, especially this run that Corbin did, his eyes are just yellow. Like most of the images of the characters are in shadow, so you don't even see much of the details. You just see almost like an outline of a person hidden by darkness, or Hellboy under moonlight, so you just see silhouettes. And I think if they can bring those images to screen, it would be fucking amazing. Are any of you guys familiar with that story?
I did a little bit of research when you guys invited me to join the podcast. I took everything you guys mentioned and I just did like a brief synopsis read on them. So I never really got into Hellboy comics. You know, I've seen all the movies and everything that are out to date, but yeah, within what I read within the story, it was definitely interesting. And I agree with you. If they can do an adaptation of what I've read into a movie, that would be pretty sick and something we haven't seen in Hellboy before.
Yeah. What about you, Al?
Especially the younger version, like that with both with at least both movies that I've seen. They basically skip the whole middle life. They go straight from when they found him, the origin, to where he's at as an adult.
It's like 40. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So I feel like that's a cool way to go about it. I've seen both the movies. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't gotten into the comics, but is that a continuing comic, or is that just like a few graphic novels, few comic run, or is that still going and much more story?
I think it's limited comic run.
Oh, okay.
Because what I'm reading right now are basically a collection of short stories for Hellboy.
Gotcha.
And where the Crooked Man shows up is in the Complete Short Stories Volume 1, and it basically spans from like 1945 till like the 80s, and it just runs consecutively. And it's basically a bunch of short stories showing the shit that Hellboy gets into, basically from when he's a little kid to when he's like a grizzled, seasoned adult. Comic book run, yes, and then they kind of compiled them into like graphic novel form. Actually, I do think the BPD series, so you get spin-offs of like Abe Sapien and Lobster Jones and all these other side characters got their own spin-off comics.
That's Dark Horse, right?
Dark Horse, yes.
All right.
But no, like you said, Al, it is a refreshing take because I love the Guillermo del Toro one. Like, don't get me wrong, those movies were amazing, and I think the David Harborough tried to harken back to like the evilness and the R-ratedness of the Hellboy comics, but there just wasn't a cohesive story behind it. And I think if they can just zero in on one story and make that a movie, I think it's going to be great.
Totally.
Yeah.
Was there certain? Was there any so as far as the art in the comic, was there any things that you would definitely want to see brought to screen as was drawn? Because I feel like most people just take the comic and then run with their own style. I feel like there should be more of taking in the vibe and then either running with that. Like, I feel like there's nothing wrong with saying that was a very cool vibe. I want to replicate that into an actual movie or cartoon form. A lot of the times people say, like, I want to make my own feel on it. And that's not a problem
Let me
either,
jump on that.
All right. Because,
Nick, you brought up, I did get a chance to look at some of the artwork of this. Mm-hmm. I like you guys, it was all in research before the podcast. I never really was a big Hellboy fan, but I did see this run with this artwork, and I agree with you, Nick. It was more. It had like more of a sketchy, raw feel to it, which is what I gravitate towards in most of like the artwork when I'm looking for comics. And I feel like when you adapt that to like a film or when someone's making their own style, I feel like it's easier because when you make it sketchy, when you make a storyboard sketchy, you're only as the job of the storyboarder, you should only put on the page what's necessary to tell the story. Everything else should be your vision as the director. Yeah. So I feel like some people read these or watch these and they fill in the blanks with their own imagination. And I feel like that's the best form of illustration is like, just tell the story and then let them in their head make the best version possible. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are certain frames revolving the actual Crooked Man. He's very secretive, almost just like a name throughout the very first part of the comic. So I'm hoping that they keep that and don't just like throw him on screen. Like let it build and build. He's always hiding in the shadows. You see maybe like from the nose down of him, and he's not really revealed until towards the end of the actual issue. So I'm hoping that they keep a similar vibe and kind of let the suspense build, because it really translates a lot on page, and I think it would be great on film.
Yeah, keep the mystery behind the character as long as possible.
Exactly. Brett, what do you bring to the table?
Well, maybe we should bring it to Charlie, honestly, because I feel like we got.
That's true. We got two. Yeah.
Well, and you kind of got the vibe, and I think I'm gonna sort of destroy the vibe you guys are bringing with my pick. So
well, let's pause on that. Let me grab my second beer.
All right, I'm gonna take a pee.
I'm gonna go take a pee too.
I'm gonna chill.
The television.